Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. Pijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. Jasodanandana Brajajanadandana. Jasodanandana Brajajanadandana. Jamunatiravanam Chadi. Jamunatiravanam Chadi. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. Jasodanandana Brajajanadandana. Jasodanandana Brajajanadandana. Jamunatiravanam Chadi. Jamunatiravanam Chadi. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivedagacharya Astatarasatasi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaura Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so we're reading from Canto 10, Chapter 14, Text 25. Translation, BBT. A person who mistakes a rope for a snake becomes fearful, but then he gives up his fear upon realizing that the so-called snake does not exist. Similarly, for those who fail to recognize you as the Supreme Soul of all souls, the expansive illusory material existence arises, but knowledge of you at once causes it to subside. So we read the BBT commentary, and here's Jiva Goswami. The Atma, the pure Jiva, is the root. So the topic is the living entity and the living entity's relationship with the Supreme. Sambandha Gyan. By ignorance of Jiva, one attains samsara. By knowledge of Atma, one destroys samsara. What is the use of knowing about the Lord? This idea is refuted by stating the opposite. Those who do not know themselves as Atma end up with material bodies by the agency of Maya. A devotee of the Lord who cannot tolerate fault because of ignorance of the root Swarup, that of the Lord, by knowledge of the Lord, which destroys ignorance of the Lord, one attains knowledge of Swarup of the Jiva. And this knowledge destroys ignorance caused by identity with the body. That's pretty clear, isn't it? An example is given to show this destruction of ignorance. It is like thinking a rope a snake. The details may be seen in another place. And the other place that's referenced is Prayers, Canto 11, Chapter 2, Text 37. This is this Bhayam Dutriyam Abhiniveshi Taksyat verse. Ishada Petasya Viparya Yosmitihi Tanmaya Yato Buddha Abhajit Tam Bhaktyaiva Kesham Gurudeva Te Atma. And the BBT translation is a little different than what's here. For the Jiva averse to the Lord, there will be samsara, consisting of identity with the body and lack of identity with the soul, because of his absorption in material coverings on the soul, arising from the Lord's Maya. Therefore, an intelligent person taking Guru as his Lord and very self should fully worship the Lord with pure bhakti. Interesting translation. Sridhar Swami explains the verse. Since Maya, created by the Lord, creates fear, the intelligent person worships the Lord, the controller of Maya, doubt. But fear arises because of identity with the body, which arises from ignorance of the Atma. What does Maya do? Answer. For the person ignorant of the Lord, Ishad Apetasya, the Swarup of the Jiva does not manifest because of Maya. Then he thinks he is the body, Viparyaya. Then, by absorption in identity, he develops fear. This is well known among people in Maya. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 7:14, Daivihi esha gunamayi mama maya daratyaya mameve prapadyante mayame tam taranti te. And a different translation. My Maya is made of the gunas, fit for the jiva's pleasure, is hard to surpass. Maya, made of the gunas, fit for the jiva's pleasure, is hard to surpass. But those who surrender to me alone can cross over this Maya. Just by knowledge of the position of the Lord in general, Maya is destroyed. It does not require realization of Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, meaning one may have Paramatma realization. That's from the previous verse. And the realization on the transcendental plane dispels Maya. The effects are observed in the names of Rama, for example. But knowledge of Krishna, who makes his appearance in complete fullness, is the greatest knowledge. And the result is the appearance of the highest prema for Krishna. This should be understood from the verse. I hope you understood that from the verse. In case you didn't, Jiva Goswami is helping us. Beyond liberation is prema, and that prema is affected, made possible by absorption in Krishna. Sanatana Goswami writes, it's short, and then we're done. This explains the ease of destroying samsara. A person does not know of avijñanatam. Some persons do not know that they are Atmanam, or Brahman, a swarup devoid of doing and experiencing. For them, the whole world is produced by this ignorance of Atmajnana alone. That's if you're a jnani, or even more specifically an impersonalist. The world, or Maya, arises to cover the Brahman. And all you have to do is Aham Brahmasmi and poof. Or, for those who do not know the Lord, Atmanam, as the dearest, Atmataya, that ignorance produces samsara. Or, for those who think, I am the Lord, I am Bhagavan, that ignorance produces samsara. By proper knowledge alone, this world is definitely destroyed. Pralipyate. In the most excellent way, bhuyo api. The word cha indicates that the desire for liberation is also destroyed, what to speak of the ocean of the temporary material world. Wow. Just, reading this, it wasn't really clear that all those things are in this verse. Because we're in the Brahma Sampradaya, and because the Srimad Bhagavatam is presenting Param Satyam Dhimahi, that the highest truth, there's Atmagyan, there's Paramatma Gyan, there's Bhagavan Gyan, and there's Swayam Bhagavan Gyan. Brahma is clear that he's seeing the original form of Krishna, which he says he doesn't understand, which means he doesn't understand in its fullness, which means he doesn't have that same prema as the residents of Vrindavan. But the residents of Vrindavan don't claim to understand Swayam Bhagavan Krishna in full. They just love Krishna, but that's the fullness of the topmost position of bhakti, according to the Bhagavatam. And Brahma is not there, and therefore I don't have the same mood of love as the residents of Vrindavan. But he has full understanding of the opulence, or the tattva of Krishna, which we're supposed to also assimilate. Krishna Tattva. And so there's this distinction. Sambandha Gyan requires us to understand the world around us. It's part of Krishna Tattva. Going back to that same context, the Nava Prameyas of Madhva or the Prameya Ratnavali of Baladev, Dasamula Tattva of Bhaktivinoda. We discussed this yesterday morning, right? So those are framework for understanding the big picture, the totality of the truths that are revealed by the Vedas or revealed by Lord Chaitanya or revealed in Bhagavatam. So this is an important section of the Bhagavatam. It's revealing some of these truths. For example, what's the material world? Because there's different philosophers that have different ideas about the material world. Abundant philosophies about the material world. And whether people live their lives according to their philosophies is another thing, but there's lots of philosophies. One of the verses that we read earlier is that universe that you showed Mother Jasoda within her mouth, within your mouth. Some philosophers say it was real, some philosophers say it wasn't real, and whatever their philosophies are, and whatever it is, you're the source of all of that. All of that is within you, including their philosophies. Everything comes from the source, including illusion. And then, so, if illusion is a potency, a prakriti, how to get on the other side of it, because the previous verses indicate it brings misery. We don't want misery. We don't want others to have misery. So what's the advice? To help us or others become free from misery. And so the emphasis is being placed here on understanding Atma Tattva, and then the soul of all Atmas, Tattva, Para Tattva, Bhagavat Tattva, and then finally Swayam Bhagavan Tattva, the truths about Krishna in full. So the material, Prakriti doesn't go away because it's eternal, but the illusory influence of Prakriti can go away, because illusory influence of Prakriti arises from ignorance. In ignorance, the essence of ignorance is ignoring Krishna. So for those who want to forget Krishna, Krishna facilitates, and here comes some ignorance for you, my dear part and parcel living entity. Here's some ignorance to cover you. So ignorance covers. And then to remove that covering of ignorance, not to remove Prakriti, but to remove the diluting influence of Prakriti, then the Lord is there for that purpose. He, the Lord, gives knowledge. We know that from Bhagavad Gita. Dwelling within the heart, I give knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So he gives knowledge, he gives forgetfulness. The diluting potency is arranged, or the remembering potency is arranged, and understanding Krishna is arranged. So, and there's different degrees of knowledge of the soul, knowledge of Paramatma, knowledge of Bhagavan, and knowledge of the original personality of Godhead. So any one of those, you can take it, just know the self. Of course, that's incomplete. The self is incomplete with understanding the connection of the self with the source of everything, the Supreme Self, because the individual self is not the source of everything. Mam evangsa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Eternally we're connected. So that's another, so you know the source, then that means you also know yourself. And then go further, Bhagavan feature. So Krishna, we heard, Krishna is simultaneously all-pervasive, and he's Marchalingam. He is a medium size, a human form, simultaneously. So the contradiction is resolved by understanding and accepting. The Lord has so many potencies, unlimited potencies, so he can expand himself as part of his unlimited potencies, and he can be everywhere. And he can be visible everywhere or not visible everywhere, but he's everywhere. He can be present everywhere. He is present everywhere as Paramatma. And to see Paramatma, that was the previous verse, those that can see Paramatma, they become situated in, they cross beyond misery. They become very happy. There's a happiness. Even there's a happiness in that neutrality position, Shantarasa. Remember that discussion. Shantarasa or Shanta Rati. This Dayi Bhav of neutrality. And that's sufficient to take away the ocean of misery of material existence. It doesn't take away the prakriti, it takes away the misery, the ignorance, by knowledge. So knowledge is revered, but knowledge is incomplete without bhakti. Or say it the other way. When bhakti is there, knowledge is there. And proportionate to our bhakti becoming stronger, we'll have better understanding, we'll have more complete or less complete, depending upon the strength of bhakti. But bhakti destroys ignorance. So that's what Brahma's teaching is here. That it can be taken, the words he's speaking can be taken as Sanatana Goswami explained, this way, that way, the other way, the other way. And both are grammatically correct renderings of what Brahma is saying. So those who are followers of Lord Chaitanya or the Rasika Bhaktas, they like the topmost understanding. But it's also appreciated the other understandings are available for others. Across the street from the Houston Temple, there's a little place, the Self-Realization Fellowship. You've heard of that before, right? Self-Realization Fellowship. It's at least it's national, and so they're interested in knowing the self, and it's a very small place. And wealthy intellectual people seem to be the ones that go there because they have their gatherings on Sunday. It's like a place of worship, self-realization. But self-realization without Krishna Tattva, or I don't know too much about it, but I'm sure it's like trying to get to Atma Tattva by presumably by Gyan methodologies of some kind. And it's supposing someone reaches it, self-realization, according to their ideology. It's likely to be notional and not realized. And even if there's some realization, it's incomplete. So it's not those are bad people. It's just it's incomplete, and we wish them best of luck, and we wish them to understand. Please consider the Bhagavatam teachings, and therefore propagating, understanding what Bhagavatam is saying, because it's a little. Going over all this philosophy is a little arduous, but understanding what it's saying is important for us to be able to connect with people that don't know what the Bhagavatam is saying, and say it in a pleasing, palatable, understandable way. And some people aren't going to want to know anything beyond what they know or think they know. But our service is to be able to understand it, live by it, and according to our capacity and the audience to extend that understanding. So some progress can be made towards the goal of life, self-realization. One can say self-realization, but self-realization for Vaishnav implies Vishnu realization or Krishna realization. And then there's more complete and less complete understandings of Vishnu realization, Krishna realization, which the Bhagavatam wants us to receive. And that's this chapter. He's talking to the original personality of Godhead, the creator of the universe, is giving truth about Krishna as it's being revealed to him within his heart. He manifested the Vedas being revealed to him in his heart. Now it's even more about the original personality of Godhead, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, with a really healthy assist from our acharyas. Okay, so let's see if there's some discussion. It's 8 o'clock. Microphone, please.
Guru Maharaj, realizing the self-realization means we are also part and parcel of Krishna, right? That is the complete self-realization.
Well, it's keep going, but yes, we're part and parcel of Krishna.
Yeah, the question is like...
Rasa is added to the complete, but go ahead.
But why is self-realization talked in the scriptures without that? I see
because there's some people that like without that.
Then that is not...
Why is there demigod worship? Because some people like that. They want, and they don't want. So, it's a desire tree. It's to help them go further, help them go further, help them go further. Embedded within each of those things is further. Because like for example, supposing someone has an understanding of the self, and a little light goes on. Hey, I'm spirit soul, not the body. And then over there is another spirit soul. And where all these spirit souls come from? And where does this illusion come from? And it leads to further inquiry. It doesn't guarantee that there'll be further inquiry, but it's there because people don't want Krishna. They want mitigation of their distress, and the way is knowing who you are. So they go for it. It's there. It's a desire tree.
Adding to that, Guru Maharaj, when you mentioned that even there are people who worship the demigods, there are various categories.
Yeah.
But worshipping the demigods, like for example, in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there is a shloka that says, for those who are self-realized, there is no need for them to work. Like, yasyat matirevasyat atmatriptascha manavaha atmanevacha santushta tasya karyam na vidyate. They don't have to work. Work does not bind them after they realize the self. So that kind of indication is given for those who are self-realized is the question. Like why the scriptures are insisting so much on that.
Why put emphasis on what?
On even for those who are self-realized.
Well, in that case, work means duty. It doesn't mean they sit in a hammock and sip lemonade. It means they don't have there's no duty for them because they're already at the end of what duties are meant to bring one to. That doesn't mean they stop work, but there's no obligation for releasing themselves from a stuck position to get unstuck. They're already unstuck. There's no obligation now.
And that is why they stop there, some of them?
Well, they don't understand. And therefore they're not really self-realized.
Right. That's the point, yeah. So they're not the complete self-realization is not there. Complete is going beyond the...
Yeah, they're negation people.
Okay. And my second question is little simpler, Guru Maharaj. The difference between Bhagavan Jnana and Swayam Bhagavan Jnana is, Bhagavan Jnana is all the Vishnu Tattvas and
Yeah.
Swayam Bhagavan is
Yeah.
Krishna.
Yeah. Yes, please get up and take the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. So I was just contemplating a little bit about how illusion is, or the ignorance, the covering of ignorance, is also because of the desire from the living entity.
Yes.
And because of Krishna's mercy, that illusion or ignorance is taken away, and then self-realization can happen. Is that the right understanding?
Yeah.
So, is that also related with karma somehow, or is there a relation with, the desires of living entities and the action, or whatever the living entity does, is another thing, and is that somehow related also? Is karma related in this self-realization aspect of ignorance being taken away by Krishna?
Well, karma is a precise meaning of karma is prescribed duties, like his question. It's not a more broad, general, generic is activity. So, which do you mean?
I mean karma as a reaction to certain activities.
Spiritual realization is not created by or impeded by karma of any type. The most sinful person is eligible for self-realization. It's a spiritual connection that makes one eligible. It's not karma. You do good karma, and you get up to a really high place, and then you're eligible for bhakti. It has nothing to do with karma. It's helpful, but it's not created by. It's more conducive if there's good karma as opposed to bad karma. Dry wood will burn more quickly than wet wood, but wet wood can be made dry and then burn. Eligibility is on a spiritual platform. It's not karma connected.
Thank you, Maharaj. Just one more thing
Sure.
related to the hierarchy of self-realization, if I may call it. So it's Atma, Paramatma, Bhagavan, and Swayam Bhagavan. Is that the right?
Yeah, he's saying his question. Same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The speaking part also, the top. Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
It is related to his first question. We were reading Bharat Maharaj's story yesterday, and in one of it said that because of his past fruitive activities, he got attached to the deer. This is what I remember. Because of he got attached to the deer in the end, like when he was in the forest. And because of his past fruitive activity, some of his past fruitive activity, he got attached to the deer.
I'm not sure that your reading is correct.
Yeah.
Here's what I understand from Jiva Goswami, who in Bhakti Sandarbha answers kind of a mystery. And the mystery is usually asked a little differently. How is it that somebody that's all the way at the bhava bhakti stage can fall down? And the answer is it's not karma. because bhakti eliminates karma, so it's not karma.
So maybe I will...
Let me say what it is, according to Jiva Goswami. He doesn't specify what, but previously there's some anartha in the heart of Bharat, anartha that arises generally from offense. And because of that anartha influencing, blocking the power of bhakti, your eyebrows are going up. Sin is destroyed by bhakti. Anarthas has the power to block the power of bhakti. It's by steady bhakti, then anarthas can be eradicated. But anartha is more powerful than sin. That's his point. And so he makes the point, Jiva Goswami makes the point, because of that anartha, the bhakti power was blocked, and he made a choice, a conscious choice. Stop bhakti. And that's the cause. Does that answer your question? Because I don't know what you read, and I'd have to see the verbatim of what you read and see if you've got it right. And
yeah, it helps me, but still I will send you the reference.
Okay.
Where I read.
Okay. Anything else in the room or online? Okay. You have your online questions? Okay. One question, okay.
This is from Uttama Bhaktadas. From yesterday morning, those meditating on Paramatma in the mood of devotion achieve Shantarasa. Will they be able to make further progress in terms of rasa from there on? An example is Dhruva Maharaj.
Yes.
Oh, there's another one.
Further progress depends upon two things: association and receiving that association. But further progress certainly can take place. Yes.
This is from Anujam Bishwas. Atulya Maharaj, when we speak about piety...
That's Atulya. That's
Atulya Maharaj.
Anjum Vishwa, that's Atulya. Okay.
When we speak about piety and auspicious...
When we speak about what?
Piety and auspiciousness, does it relate to good karma or does it relate to bhakti?
Wait, when we speak of piety...
And auspiciousness.
And auspiciousness, okay. Does it relate to bhakti or karma? That's your question?
Yeah. Good karma or does it relate to bhakti?
It depends.
Okay.
Meaning... there's material auspiciousness and there's transcendental auspiciousness. So it depends.
What could be auspicious or inauspicious, or pious or impious on the path of bhakti?
Well, for the path of bhakti, it's not exactly material auspicious or inauspicious. Because the barometer or the focus point goes to the intention of pleasing Krishna or not. Let's take the example that Prabhupada would speak about a lot, and that is killing is bad, and Arjuna's killing because Krishna wanted was good. Killing is bad. But when Arjuna understood this is what Krishna wanted, then it was good. And not doing what Krishna wanted, that was not good. So the bhakti determines, the auspiciousness. And bhakti principle is what's pleasing to Krishna. The intention, more specifically, the intention of pleasing Krishna. Then the intention of pleasing Krishna needs to be properly guided. But the intention of pleasing Krishna, when properly guided, is the essence of auspiciousness. It leads to the other kind of auspiciousness also. Okay, that's it.
There's a few more.
This got another one popped up.
Yeah. This is also from Uttama Bhaktadas.
Okay.
Does imperialism exist in other yugas, or is it a product of Kali?
No, it's in all yugas.
My understanding is that it doesn't exist because they're relatively pure.
Well, relatively doesn't mean there isn't materialism. Otherwise, it's Vaikuntha.
This one's from Ruchira Mataji. Hare Krishna Maharaj, you quoted from Jiva Goswami and said anarthas have greater bhakti blocking power than sins. What is the difference between anartha and sin?
Sin is karma related and anartha is bhakti related. In real simple language. So sin means there's morality and immorality, and when it goes against morality, that's sin. And anartha is towards that which is spiritual, offense towards that which is spiritual. Consider carefully, for example, the 10 offenses. Spiritual, 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 spiritual. And having a regard for that which is spiritual in a way that's not spiritual, that's offense that leads to anartha. Anartha arises from offense, primarily. Okay. Wow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.